Welcome to the On the Rise podcast, where we talk about time freedom, passive investing through real estate, finance, mindset, and how to integrate your faith into your work. Let's dive in. Quick disclaimer as always, I'm not a CPA, I'm not an attorney or a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. I'm not telling you or anyone else what to do. The views and opinions expressed in these podcasts are provided for education and informational purposes only and are not necessarily the views of my employer. Welcome to the On the Rise podcast. This is the new Faith-Driven Leaders series. I'm your host, Nick Stromwall. We've got an awesome guest today, John Laine. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Nick. How are you, bud?
Hey, it's been fun. Just getting to know you. We met on social media and we've just connected at some various real estate events over the years. And honestly, just really excited to learn more about who you are and kind of what you're trying to accomplish. Just really quickly, you're a real estate syndicator, advocate for compassionate capitalism with almost 40 years of real estate investing experience and over 175 million in closed transactions. Through StarterHome.fund, you partner with nonprofit housing providers and regional housing authorities to create affordable home ownership opportunities in a $1 trillion underserved market. So I'm really excited. Tell us more about this compassionate capitalism.
I love this idea of compassionate capitalism. I started, so I'm going to give you, like, if you look at other podcasts, you'll see like my history is splashed out there. I ended up two important moments in my life, really three, but the the thing most people care about is I ended up with a golf ball sized brain tumor when I was 30, early 30s. And that almost killed me, right? That was a really big part of my life. Very, very high expectation of death. And that happened early in my life, right? That was 25-ish years ago. Um, and that shaped who I am as a person. And it's the genesis of where this compassionate capitalism piece comes from. Like, my suffering, hopefully, will lead to helping thousands of other people not have to suffer. Um, but yeah, that's a big part of kind of where it starts from.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. And I think we connected on this too, but my father also had a brain tumor, and those significant moments in your life where as far as doctors can tell, the anticipated outcome is not good. Um, Not everyone goes through that, but most people know someone who has. How did you get through that? What was it like walking through that season of your life?
So I talk about it as a Job moment, right? How familiar are you with the book of Job? Pretty familiar?
We named our third son Hudson Job.
Okay. Most people, I literally had this conversation 3 times this week. Most people I know do not, they kind of know peripherally the book of Job, but it's not something that most people pay a lot of attention to. It's not Luke, it's not Mark, it's right. It's one of the books that a lot of people skip. I personally love. It is my all-time of all the books in the Bible. Uh, it's my favorite one, and it's paramount to me because of the relationship between God and Job. Right, first, second, third paragraph in the book, God's like, Job is my all-time favorite human, right? Centuries before Christ, but all-time favorite human. I love Job the most. And then like that piece to me is really important. all of his stuff goes away, his kids die, like all this tragedy happens. I think we as humans are better for our Book of Job moments.
Hmm.
We as society, suffering is not good, but it is character building. And that's where kind of I went through this whole process of both two big events, the brain tumor, and then a couple of years later, I lost almost $80 million, 77 million in assets in the 08, 09 crisis. So I've had these. Job has been this foundational figure in my life all for my entire career, and so that's like the foundation of where this compassionate capitalism comes was as a result of pretty significant trauma in my life.
Wow. Yeah. I think you're right too, because I think in general, we want to avoid trials, we want to avoid pain, we want to avoid suffering. And not that we ever want to ask for it, but in a lot of ways, our trials, our tribulations, those moments in business where we don't hit a home run, and in fact we have a big fail, right?
Yeah.
It's really challenging to go through on all the different pressures of life, but it's those very moments where often people who are faith driven, they have to turn to someone that is going to give them peace. Because if you don't knock it out of the park and you actually lose a deal, or you lose money or whatever the trial is, it's a health challenge, it's a scare, it's a those moments I think are the moments that really set apart um, people who have a greater, deeper meaning, purpose, joy, why in their life from those that don't. And it's those also those moments that I think help people turn to the Lord. You're kind of referencing this, but Romans 5, just looked it up quick. It says, we rejoice in our sufferings, knowing that suffering produces endurance. Endurance produces character. Character produces hope, and hope does not put us to shame because God's love has been poured into his hearts through the Holy Spirit who has been given to us. So I think what you're talking about in your brain tumor, many years ago, that moment, everyone's going to have one of those moments in their life, whether it's them personally, a family member, a close friend, a business associate, where you kind of have a choice. You can either turn to what the world says is going to bring you happiness, or you can turn to someone who offers a different path.
I have seen it countless times, especially during the Great Recession, where it was basically a knife fight, right? It was bloody. It was a battle to get through that. And so many, like I was a developer and people were stealing from me on a daily basis. And it just got these really hard points in life show that you either have character or you do not. It's a very clear line, and character matters. Going through hell and coming out the other side uh, shows an enormous amount of character. Whether it's a medical problem, whether it's a financial problem, um, look, these things suck. Like, I don't ever want to go through that crap again. Uh, but I know I have a foundation, and it is so weird to be on a look. You and I talked about this before. Like, I don't share my faith publicly because it's been weaponized. Faith and trust in God has routinely been weaponized in my life where, oh, I don't think you're a Christian anymore. Like, I've had people do that and say that about me. And so I keep it really private. Like,
Hmm.
had you and I not been friends for a couple years, I would not be on this podcast now because I've seen how PRAY has turned into PREY. I'm praying for you instead of preying on you.
Mm-hmm.
And I see that. I see specifically in the Christian world right now where it's so divided. Like I'm very cautious about.
Well, before we jump into compassionate capitalism, which I think I want to spend some time on, do I remember that you bought your first house in a very creative way and you were pretty young? Can you share that story?
I was 19. Uh, yeah, I mean that was almost 40 years ago. So I was it wasn't a creative way. It wasn't really anything interesting, but I did buy. I mean, I was 2 months out of being 19, and like I sold. I was a carpet cleaner, right? Just average Joe. I don't have a college degree. Um, I didn't have any special skills, but because my dad was an army officer and we were very transient growing up. Like I see your map of the US, and literally I have lived or been through every single state except two, right? I was super transient as a kid, didn't have any stability, didn't have any reliable. So when I could make my own decisions legally, I did. And really the very first thing I did was go buy a house. $2,500 down. Like it's hard to even imagine now. Like $2,500 wouldn't buy you a hoopty. Like yeah. And to own a house, and I mean I've seen that house now go from I don't know $56,000 purchase to well over 350.
Amazing. Wow. That's quite the transition. So you use this phrase compassionate capitalism. A lot of people listening to this might hear that and assume you mean, lower returns for warmer feelings types of things. But I think you're actually arguing the opposite. Walking me through what you actually mean by compassionate capitalism.
So it's not just lip service, right? We lead with kindness. Um, that's our first premise in everything that we do. Is it kind? Is it just? Is it right? Um, I I look at compassionate capitalism as really like can we make reason because it's a balance. It's very hard. It's really important that we balance like compassion. We help first time home buyers buy their first home. Like that's pretty compassionate. We'll take profits on the back end. We'll partner with nonprofit housing organizations. We give, generally speaking, about 25% of our profits back to the organizations that we're working with. Like the whole thing is a flywheel, and the more people we help, the more profit it becomes. The more profit it becomes, the more people we can help. Like it's very it's a it's I love our business model. It's the I've been in this business for 4 decades. Our business model is hands down the coolest model that I've ever seen. Um, yeah, it's cool. I like it.
I'm Zach Haptonstall, CEO and co-founder of Rise 48 Equity. Our goal is to help you protect and grow your wealth by investing in large multifamily apartment buildings. We do all the work as far as sourcing these large apartment buildings from the brokers, doing all of the on-site management with our vertically integrated property management company, doing all the renovations with our vertically integrated construction company. We completely rebrand the exteriors. We will renovate the interiors to our full platinum level scope, which increases the value of the asset to get that profit margin for the investor. If you'd like to learn about how you can partner with us on these exciting opportunities, you can go to our website and set up a call with our team.
Kind of like a fusion between empathy and economics. How does it work? Walk us through it.
Okay, so the simple answer, we buy old apartment buildings from nonprofit housing providers, right? These nonprofits, generally, they might have bought the building or had it gifted to them 25 or 50 or 75 years ago, right? So starts with the nonprofits. They have very little, if no basis. They probably have owned this property for 50 years. They have zero cost. So The problem with nonprofits is they're always cash strapped. There's very little ongoing regular maintenance. And so you've got 20, 30, 50 years of deferred maintenance in some of these buildings. In many ways, they are valueless, right? And so that's an important starting point. Um, So, as an example, we bought here in Portland, just baseline numbers. You got to know that the average apartment building sales is about $175,000 a door. That's kind of the number, 150 to 200, but 175 per door is our normal price. We're buying units at 50, 60, and $75,000 a door. I mean, literally, yeah, $100,000 difference per door purchase price. It's a huge economic advantage to us. The nonprofits sell us their buildings at these deep discounts because they're disheveled, because they've got 50 years of deferred maintenance, right? There's a list of reasons why they sell, but their number one reason is because we are mission aligned. We want the same thing they want, which is a more stable housing market. Um, More people who own their homes rather than rent. Nobody wants to be a renter. Like your children, they don't want to grow up being lifelong renters. Nobody wants to be a renter. We want, as a society, we know that the math says that the more homeowners we have, the better our society is. Healthcare, education, voting, like all the metrics, spousal abuse, right? Every metric is improved for homeowners rather than renters. So the nonprofits want us to help them transition their residents into homeowners. And so that we'll buy this building, we'll do the conduization process. And let's say we bought this thing for 75,000 a door. We're going to put about 50 to 75 a door into reno, right? Because they need a lot of work. And then we might sell that unit for 225, 275. And that's called the area median income. We try to be at about 80% AMI. And so through this kind of mechanism of the nonprofit on this side, us doing the renovation and the conduization, and then working with another nonprofit on the back end to sell these units to lower income families.
Wow. And how are they able to afford it then? Is there some type of special arrangement? You said there's a nonprofit on that side too. What's the mechanism to make it affordable outside of lower cost than what the market's offering?
So some of these families, so nonprofit A, us, nonprofit B. Nonprofit B, it's called Portland Housing Center. They're amazing. Look them up. They've been in business for about 35 years. They've helped 10,000 people become homeowners. Their organization generally helps with down payment assistance, right? So, what are the two biggest barriers to homeownership? Price and payment, right? So, we help lower the price. We're $200,000 to $300,000 cheaper than the average house in Portland, and the down payment through PHC and what we do, we generally get about a 20% down payment in either gifts, grants, or subsidized loans.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So do you guys have like a waiting list of people that are chomping at the bit to get your next property?
God, I wish that were true. The problem with 80% AMI folks is the economy's a wreck. I mean, I don't know if you saw the numbers today, but 6% inflation. PP Producer price index just came out today at 6%. It's the highest it's been in 3 and 4 years. the people at this 80% AMI, they're terrified to make a move right now. That's why we don't have a list of buyers ready to go. The nonprofits, Portland Housing Center, has about a 950 person list of qualified buyers. We don't yet because we're just not as good at marketing as they are.
Well, it seems like there's an opportunity because you're kind of giving someone one of those too good to be true type of situations where they can get in on a very nicely redone property in a really affordable price with often some great discounts. So
Our whole business model is this idea of rent to mortgage parity, right? If you're at a $2,000 a month rent, we can get you a home for $2,000 a month, right? That's important. In Portland, the median price in Portland is $565,000. We're coming to market with 175 to three and a quarter. So we're $200,000 to $300,000 cheaper.
the first home I bought was in South Minneapolis. This is in 2011, and they had a loan program called the American Dream, and you could get in for 3%. And I thought that was a little bit too good to be true. But I mean, people just got to fight to like understand and be creative and find groups like Starter Home because there are really good options out there. Um, I kind of want to just get into like the why behind this a little bit. You've talked about this online before, but um, you know, the dichotomy between wealth creation and community impact. A lot of people think those are kind of like two separate buckets, but you actually kind of put those together. What changed in your own thinking that made you start seeing wealth creation and community building as one bucket?
Well, it goes back to I kind of grew up in poverty. We were the quintessential army family with government cheese in our fridge going to the food banks. Like we grew up that way. And so I watched my our family was relatively poor, not absolute poor, but really close. We were probably at about 65% AMI. Now looking back, now that I know what that looks like, um, we grew up with government mac and cheese in the fridge, right? That's how Hamburger Helper was the norm for us, and I realized how foundationally important when we uh, my dad, my mom, they bought our first home in the early 80s. We had a 14% interest rate. Um, that's why I'm like always laugh at people griping about 6% interest rates right now because like reality is different. Um, but because we grew up relatively poor, not like church mouse poor, but rough. Um, I've seen how the impact of home ownership worked on my life. And then when I bought my first home at 19, I saw how that impacted my life. My wife is a teacher. I think I shared that with you. My wife was a teacher for 30 years. Um, the kids who came from money, more home, more stability, better health outcomes, better test scores, the whole nine yards. The kids that were uh, uh, free lunch, free and assisted lunch programs, those are the kids who have problems. Like that is just so I've seen it in like this is all I can I can give you the data points, but I can give you lived experience as well. And like it's so much better as a society when we have more homeowners. Like America goes up and down in waves. Sometimes we have more, sometimes we have less, but we as a society are better when we have homeowners.
Well, yeah, and I mean, growing up how you did, I think a lot of people can relate to that. And I think that really drives you to establish that sense of home, that sense of community, because if you can help a working family become a homeowner, you're doing something that's really biblical. I mean, the dignity of ordinary people having a place to live and raise their kids, and all the benefits that come with it. Um, what kinds of joy do you feel when you see that family get the keys and they're not bouncing around from place to place, but they really have a place to call it home? Like, do you have like a wall or a picture wall of that coming?
So I have better than a wall. I get to meet these families, right? Let's talk about, like, we just bought a 16 unit apartment building in outer southeast Portland. It's called Heather Lane. We just closed on it like 2 weeks ago. Cute little 16 unit apartment building. We every time, so this is our eighth condo conversion, right? Every single time from the very beginning, we have had what's called a meet and greet. Within 2 weeks after we close, we send out a letter, we get our property manager out, she knocks on everybody's doors, she says, be at this pizza parlor at XYZ time. We're all going to meet each other. We're all going to have this. And we buy everybody pizza. We buy them A&W root beer. We just, our core value, our company slogan is build community, build wealth, right? That's in our corporate DNA. We bring everybody in, we have a massive meet and greet, and we say, hi, the very first thing, when Rise buys an apartment building, what's the first thing everybody asks? Is my rent going up? Right? There's this massive anxiety. You have 13,000 doors now, right? Hats off to you guys. Uh, the very first question every single resident asks, is my rent going up? We come in, we have this big old pizza party meet and greet, and we're like, the very first question, no, your rent is not going up. Like, we put everybody at ease immediately. Second thing we do, we get a checklist of, are the lights in the parking lot working? Who's arguing with who? Is somebody, like in this case, there's only 36 parking spaces and they're playing musical chairs with cars. That tells me that there's too many people with cars. People are knocking at 10 o'clock at night on the door. Hey, will you move your car? Yada, yada. So we're solving these core problems within the community. And the third and most important thing is, so how many of you hate paying rent? Nobody's hand goes up, right? But the reality is nobody wants to pay rent. Second question, who wants to own their place?
Mm.
Unanimously, everybody, like, they all want to own. And so we turn a very tense transitional meeting into happy, joy, euphoric. They get an opportunity to meet our property manager. She introduces everybody. And literally, we come out from that meeting, 5 people stepped up and said, I want to own, I'll start the paperwork tomorrow. And literally 4 of those families went in and submitted paperwork the next day. Like, the joy of these kids, and I'm kids because they're all 30 years younger than me, but the joy of these families it's incredible. It's infectious. It's amazing to watch. You go from lifelong renter, 20 years as a renter, into somebody's just, it's not a handout. This is compassionate capitalism. It's not a handout, it's a hand up. And I swear to God, I get goosebumps, I get teary eyed every time we do a meet and greet. Like, it is really cool to watch these families just the trajectory of their life changes in an instant, and it's cool to watch.
Yeah, that's really cool. I think you found an opportunity in the market to generate um, pretty solid returns from looking at your materials. This isn't like a it's not like someone investing in your company is going to get significantly less returns than if they went to the market. It's actually market rate returns. But you've found a way to leverage solving a problem for these nonprofits, and working with government entities and pairing those together to get those compassionate, for families that are signing up to jump into your program. That's honestly really exciting. Hats off to you. I think a lot of even, Christian operators, people who own real estate now, they might be listening to this and they sense that same tension between, fiduciary duty when you are raising capital, you're stewarding other people's hard-earned money, and also conscience. And they feel like they have to choose, either I'm going to do what's in the best interest for my investors, um, and maybe they tag on and also care for my residents. But you seem to have resolved that tension and found a place to stand inside of it. How'd you get there?
Our business model is elegant but complex. It is very hard to navigate this. I've owned, like, you guys are a big corporation. I was just a small operator, but I've owned about 1,000 doors. All right. And most of that was single family res. And instead of apartments, I was doing a lot of single family res. And that's a really different way to operate a business, right? You tend to get to know people better. Knock, knock, knock. Sally's late on rent. Oh, she got into the hospital. Okay, well, let's work something out, right? When you have an apartment building, there's an anonymity, right? You don't really get that one-on-one interaction with people, whereas single family res, you tend to get more personal. And so we got more personal. We just decided to get more personal and stay that way.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so 40 years is a long time to be in one industry. What's kept you in real estate for that long?
Okay, so that's a misnomer. Uh, I sold shoes for 12 years, right? I mean, real estate was not my only thing for my whole life. Like, I don't want that picture to be painted. I sat at the feet of little old ladies selling orthopedic shoes for 12 years. Like, I liked that. That's again that service oriented personality of mine. Um, but real estate has always been kind of this through line. Like, I didn't get into real estate uh, until my third, as an investor, until my third house. Um, when I got sick, when I got the tumor, um, I was on my by that time I was on my third house. I had a 401k. I had a decent job. I had a decent car. Like, it was like just in that very early middle income stage, and then I ended up getting sick. Uh, and I went to a Robert Allen seminar while I was sick, right? Puking, chemo, the whole nine yards. I went to this Robert Allen seminar, and that's where I made the leap, because I was making like 36 grand a year selling shoes, which at that time was a really good salary, um, to $25,000 in a 6 week period on a flip on my first house, on my first investment transaction. So it was not, it was, I look at my career of real estate investing starting from my first house in, like, whatever, 1987. Um, but the real investing started 2001, late 2001, where was actually making a living as a real estate investor. Um, yeah, it's been a fun ride. Like, it's been horrible, right? I lost 77 million in assets in 2009. Like, it hasn't been a rosy ride for me. It has been filled with bumps and bruises.
Hills and valleys. Wow. Yeah. So if you were, you know, sitting across the table from a 25-year-old, you know, kind of a faith-driven leader looking to get into real estate, and just kind of asked you to summarize these last seasons of your life just on building something that lasts, what would you tell them? What would be some advice you'd share?
Buy a fourplex today. The market is irrelevant. None of the things that are supposed to scare you should scare you. Buy a fourplex. Buy a small multifamily. Get in at 3%. We just helped a kid. Like, you're asking this question. That was our unit. That was our 7th building. We just helped. He's 27. She's 26. He's a bank mid-tier guy. She's an EMT. They just bought a fourplex, 4.25% financing. We carried 20% on the deal. Like, buy a fourplex. That's the short answer. Really lovely Christian family. We do that. We help young families buy their first home. Like, that's what we do. And so, when you, like, the advice I give is the advice I actually fund.
And why a fourplex? For a listener that might not be familiar with that, what's the advantage of a fourplex over a single family?
Okay, so let's go to commercial financing. Anything over 5 units is considered commercial. There's a whole lot more regulatory, whole lot more hoop jump. Fourplex is still financed on FHA. You can get 3 and 4 and 5% down, right? And I mean, the deal we did with Alex, he got a 4.25% interest rate on a 5% down. Like, it actually cash flows. It's actually profitable. He and his wife are they're close by. It's easy to manage. There's like, everything could be done independently without hiring a mortgage, a commercial broker. You don't need commercial property management. You don't really need commercial insurance. Like, it's just a lot easier. And you get the luxury of multiple doors, which is valuable, because if one tenant leaves, if one resident leaves, you still have the income from the 3 others. So, I mean, it's the perfect investment to start.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, I think that's one of the best moves is a duplex, a triplex, or a quadplex. Live in one unit, let the tenants, help pay off your mortgage, and
Don't live in it. Don't live in it. Let someone else pay for it. It's essentially free, right? If you're this, I mean, this is where I disagree with house hackers. If you live in it, you're reducing the net profit. Like, you're comfortable if you can afford a place right now. If you're assuming you're living in an apartment right now, just continue to live there. Pay your monthly rent. The asset is the machine. There's no real benefit to moving into that machine, because here's what happens. If you move in, you're going to stop paying rent on your own place. That's just how people are wired. Oh, I have an extra $1,500 a month. I'm going to go buy a different car. Don't move into it. Continue with your apartment, with living in your apartment. Just own the asset and let the asset create the wealth.
yeah, that's also really good wisdom. So thanks for sharing that. If people want to learn more about Starter Home, where can they go, and what kinds of opportunities do you have coming up?
StarterHome.fund is the website. We try to be a holistic resource. We talk about, like, that's where you'll get our newsletter. That's where you'll get the financing tools. It's a pretty comprehensive resource for first-time home buyers, for nonprofits, and for our investors. And our investors are making 15 or 18% annual. Like, it's a good resource. Go to the website, StarterHome.fund. And then I'm on LinkedIn. I'm everywhere on LinkedIn. I spend 2 to 3 hours a day on LinkedIn. You can always reach me there.
Great. Well, I really appreciate the conversation, John. Thanks for sharing more about your heart and vision, and look forward to continuing to stay connected.
I like it. I like where you're going with this podcast. I watched a couple of episodes. I appreciate the opportunity. I appreciate you. I like the work that Rise 48 does. Yeah, if I can help in any way, please let me know.
Sounds great. All right. Thanks, John.
Yep.
Thank you for hanging out with us today and for listening to the On the Rise podcast. This show is for entertainment purposes only. Nothing said on this show should be considered financial advice. Before making any financial decisions, please consult with a professional. This show is copyrighted by the On the Rise podcast. Written permissions must be granted before syndication or rebroadcasting.